Okay, I think we are live. Um, Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's session, the I Am Remarkable session. So I think we can get started right now. Welcome. Thank you, everyone who has joined the session. So we've got an exciting 90 minutes in this I Am Remarkable session today. And moreover, an incredible panel of guests that have joined us from SAP to deliver this session. So I'm really excited that we are all here, and I hope that you are. So in a moment, I will hand over to my colleagues from SAP, the guests that have joined us, to do an introduction and just get started with the session. But I would love to also know where everyone is joining from. Where we can just drop it on the chat who you are and where you are joining us from this morning. So with that, welcome everybody to the I Am Remarkable session. Again, I'm going to not waste any further time and hand over to the incredible Dimakatso Monyela to just introduce herself, tell us more about herself, what she does, and also just hand over also to Itumeleng to do the same, and we can get started. Over to you, Ausdima.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Frida, for the introduction, and thank you, everybody, for joining us on the I'm Remarkable session. Just to introduce myself, as Frida has mentioned, I'm Dimakatso Monyela. I'm the Customer Success Manager at SAP, and at SAP, I'm part of the Business Women's Network Group, the Africa chapter, and I am part of the partnership stream. And outside my day-to-day job, still at SAP, I'm the diversity and inclusion champion. And then something that is close to my heart is that I am the Unremarkable facilitator. And outside work, I am a mom, daughter, wife, friend, sister, you name them. And I also enjoyed playing tennis with my kids, with friends. And one thing that I can say about me is my spirituality is something that really anchors me. And I can share with you what really anchors my soul or what rocks my soul when I see people achieving their success. I think my day-to-day role at SAP sums up me as a customer success manager. And I can also share that when we were doing the personality type session with the Educate to Employ, when we met at SAP offices, it did highlight that I'm a coach, that the job that I should do is a coach. And that sums it up for me. I really root out for people to achieve what they set out to do successfully. I support. That's actually about me. And I just want to acknowledge also my colleague Itumeleng for joining us. So I'm going to hand over to you, Itumeleng, to introduce yourself.
Oh, I think there's a glitch on Itumeleng's side. Maybe we can just give it a second for her to rejoin. But I see on the chat, it's buzzing. We have Stelo Setu joining us from Cape Town. There's also Wellington joining from Makado. That must be in Limpopo, in Venda. Wandisile says, hello, everyone. I hope you are well. I'm joining from Pretoria. DK Lady says, hello, good morning, everybody, from Walmanstal. I don't know where that is. It must be around Pretoria, I assume. Daniel from Johannesburg. Siyabonga also joining from Joburg. Let me see. I may have missed a bit there. There's Tembi from Johannesburg. Bongani Nkuna joining from Benoni. Welcome, everybody. I see you, Salume from Zanin and Duncan in Nairobi. Welcome, everybody. Anele, hello, Anele. I see he's joining us from Joburg. And we have Lawrence joining all the way from the Philippines. So, welcome everybody. I am so happy that you are all here. Um, let's see, Itu is just still trying to join. In the meantime, I can just check who's in the chat. It's buzzing. Samuel Onoja joining from Nigeria, and Kanisi Etwala joining us all the way from Nelspruit. Welcome, Tlakanipo. I see you from KZN. So keep those coming, guys. Bongi, I see you joining from Johannesburg. Keep them coming. We love it that you are here. Keep the chat interacting and busy. We'll get to those. Nomfundo from the West Rand. I see you. I see you, Nomfundo. Welcome.
Hi everyone. Apologies, my
Hi.
StreamYard.
No problem. Yeah, you can take it away. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Sorry about that, everybody. My name is Itumeleng Dlamini. I'm from the West Rand in Johannesburg. I also work at SAP and I'm a project manager within our finance space. So I look internally within ourselves. So my customers are, my colleagues from a finance perspective, and SAP, like all other companies, we've been on a digital transformation journey. So I'm part of the project managers implementing internal projects. I am a qualified chartered accountant. I also did a master's in innovation studies because I'm very interested in how we can, diffuse innovations, particularly within the organizations that we work for. Yeah, so that's me. I'm also a mom. I'm a wife as well. My favorite pastime is, if I'm not active, it's watching reality shows. And then I also really, really love boxing. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Itumeleng, for that. Thank you, Itumeleng, for that introduction. I think definitely let's make it all interactive. I see we have people from Philippines, Pretoria, Nelspruit. I think we're covering a whole lot of diverse group of individuals. So let's make it interactive. I think keep the chats coming. And I'm going to post something in the link quickly. When you get the chance, it's all about the personality type. As I've mentioned, that I have discovered that I can be a great coach. So that probably in my next lifetime, that is something that I can pursue with passion. So I'm sharing my screen right now. You can see as we are I'm Remarkable, and you can ask yourself, what is I'm Remarkable? Anyway, another QR code that you can scan is I'm Remarkable. It's basically a global movement. It's all about a movement and that try to demystify self-promotion, where we want to advocate for people to own their story, owning your story and your achievement and your accomplishments. So I have been part of this journey for 3 years now, going on the fourth. When you get the chance, you can scan the QR code, just get to see what the community is all about, and it's growing on a day-to-day basis. So I am going to go to the next screen. In terms of what we've prepared for you today, we're going to go through the introduction of what I'm Remarkable is, and then we do our own reflection. There is lots of researches that I'm Remarkable is built, is based on looking at the diversity and inclusion, biasness, all this type of researches, hence, this I'm Remarkable movement is founded and is continuing to grow. It's because it's addressing some of the ills within our systems or the gaps that is in our systems. And then we'll do some workshop exercise. We're going to do the work exercise together. and yeah, some discussion. Please, if you have any comment, keep it coming in the chat. Remember to also definitely give us a like there and there. And I am gonna go into the introduction. What is Remarkable? So Remarkable, as I've mentioned, it's a global movement. It was founded by two ladies, Anna Weiner and Anna Zapezonoshin, in 2016. I think they were part of the Google employees. So they founded this movement to encourage others. I think they actually started internally, where they encourage each other to sort of at the workplace to challenge the social perception around self promotion. Everybody knows that today, if you had to talk about what you've achieved, there are perceptions. When you promote yourself, there will be perceptions about whether that could be true, whether that could be something else. But what they came about with Unremarkable is recognizing how unique we are and your achievements, and being your own advocate for your own story. And during this workshop, actually, that's basically what we're going to do, is understanding the importance of self-promotion, and whether it's in your personal space or capacity or in a professional space, we have to increase the comfort of learning to be comfortable, confidence in our skills, and confidence in why we believe we are remarkable. One thing that I love about this particular program, and why I joined and I said, I want to spread the message, is, you go through your life knowing you're unique, knowing you have your unique strengths. You've accomplished so much because of who you are, how you show up on a day-to-day basis. But when you have to advocate for that person, you might find that you don't advocate it in a way that it highlights some of the key accomplishments that you've done. You might be, or other people telling your story and telling it maybe half of it, 50%, but that the 100% of the story, the 100% of your achievement. So it's all about that movement saying, let's encourage each other, let's acknowledge how remarkable we are, our unique talents, our value proposition that we bring, and how can we make sure that others understand our how remarkable it are, and the value that we bring to the table to make sure that we achieve the greater good. So that's basically where Remarkable fits in, and we'll definitely go into the next slide in terms of why is recognizing or sharing your achievement important. And I'm asking this, I would like to see it in the chat, maybe just, everybody, Mapula from Pretoria, I'm just going to call out people, anybody that wants to comment in the chat, why do you think it's important to share your achievement? Why do you think that is important? Anybody that wants to sort of comment, and I'm going to also pick up on my colleagues in the chat as well, or in the forum, in terms of Frida, Itu, you're welcome to share. Why do you think it's important to share your achievements?
Maybe while everybody's thinking, I think from my side, it's evolved over time, right? And where I am in my life right now, it's important to also remind myself, because I think, unfortunately, we tend to default to looking at the negative, what didn't work so well, or what we didn't achieve. So it's very, very important as a self reminder of who you are and what you have achieved and what you are capable of. Because I think then it fuels you to keep going, to keep wanting to achieve more, by recognizing that. And I think also professionally, it's very, very important to keep that top of mind, because in almost every conversation, it needs to come natural to sell yourself, but obviously looking at the right moment, looking at, when does it make sense, but you're exercising that muscle of, self-promotion, so that it does come naturally.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that. Itu, and also I think in my perspective, we don't live in a vacuum. There's a community around us that inspires us, that we live with, that we thrive with. So talking about your achievements inspires other people that look up to you. Might be your children, might be family, might be anyone that you live with. So yeah, that's why we need to communicate those achievements, and of course, the context matters.
Thank you, Frida and Itumeleng. I couldn't agree with you more. And in the chat as well, it's buzzing to inspire others. I think it's coming across a couple of times. Visibility is important because many of us will hear sometimes when it comes promotion time, they say, but this person is not visible, right? So I think I see others are saying visibility to encourage others to promote a positive mindset. I think, I couldn't agree with all the input. It's, about, the input that you're giving about why recognizing your achievement is important. I think what I can also add to the points that have been mentioned is for also our well-being. I think it is said, has always said, when you recognize your own achievement, it does have an impact or positive effect on your well-being, your self-confidence, and how you motivate yourself and how you show up, when you're recognizing yourself and you're recognizing your achievement. And you can also, like, as you've shared, that inspiring others is when we share our experience, definitely those stories will inspire others. Many of us can attest of a time where somebody has shared a story, and when you reflected upon a story or their achievement, it motivated you to sort of want to do more. And also, again, for our career growth, we all want to grow in our careers. Nobody wants to remain in the same place for their entire life. Everybody wants to sort of grow depending on what that growth means for you, but it also critical to our own progression and our own growth, knowing that important thing that you are able to achieve in your career. So that's basically what I can share right now in terms of why it is important to recognize your achievements or also sharing with others. I am gonna go to now in terms of we've recognized why it's important, but I just want to ask, do you think when I come to you and I said, this is what I've achieved, maybe, or I was selected to represent, our team in one of our go-to-market strategy by going to on an international trip, would you think that would be bragging? Would you think that it's bragging when somebody comes and share their achievement with you? I just want to get the thoughts in the chat in terms of what do you think when somebody shares? Would you term that as bragging or not? Maybe my colleagues in the chat, I am gonna come to you too. Eti and Frida, what's your thoughts?
So I'm a bit torn about this, and I think it speaks more to my personality and you know thinking for the other people. I think the first feeling that I would have is me coming across as being boastful, and yeah, just bragging about what's happening in my life. But I think it also depends on the audience for me. If I'm saying this to someone that I'm living with on a day to day, they know me, they are a friend or a close friend or even family, it wouldn't come across as being boastful, or it would rather be something that we are celebrating together. But then I guess also the same thing going out to someone, maybe I don't know, a random person and say, "Oh, I'm going on an international trip because of this and that." That might come across as being boastful to me. So I would much rather just be reserved on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, I agree with what Frida is saying. I think context is important, right? The context in which you're saying what you're saying is very important. professionally, let's say there's a particular problem statement, and maybe you're making an example of, or you're trying to provide a solution by making an example of something you've done in the past and it was successful. I think that's not bragging, right? So it depends what is said in which context. And I think also maybe we also tend to think the word bragging itself, we tend to take it as a negative. Maybe it's not always the word itself, regardless of the context. Maybe it's not a bad thing to also look at the word bragging as not always taken from a negative context. Perspective, but definitely the context in which you're saying what you're saying is important, especially if, in the effort of self-promotion or trying to provide a solution, giving an example of something you've done or seen in the past or been part of, then definitely, I think, say it with your chest.
Thank you, Itu. Thanks, Itu and Frida, for that contribution. I've also seen Abdul Hafiz said it's also perception. Context is important. Perception is important. And what I'm remarkable, it comes to challenge, that, norm of, when a person is sharing based on their context, every time they might be labeled as bragging. But when it's based on facts, if you've achieved that project, if you accomplished that goal, if you've made a difference, why shouldn't you talk about it? So I think today we have to challenge that perception that when people or when people are sharing about the successes and their progress that they've made, it could be regarded as bragging. We have to understand that they have accomplished that. The facts do not lie. So definitely, I think more context, but we also have to challenge that connotation that when we are sharing about what we have achieved, it might be seen as bragging. Yes, definitely, you look at the context that we're sharing this at, but also know that you when you share it, when you're sharing your accomplishment, your successes, you will definitely, there are people that will be inspired, there are people that will challenge their perception and the biasness that they might have when people share their successes. And on the next slide, it does say, you're not bragging because truth be told, accomplishment do not speak for themselves. Yes, there are times where we believe that we've worked hard enough and our hard work will be seen. I think most of us, we believe so. But I think sometimes we get a rude awakening that you have been working so hard, you have been delivering these goals, but you've never advocated for them. And people will definitely know half of the story. This statement for me, I think, speaks volume in itself. Why? Maybe you can put it in the chat. Why do we think accomplishment won't speak for themselves? Maybe Itu Frida, was there a time in a place where you have accomplished something and you thought that this accomplishment is going to speak louder, but yet it was silence or it was never visible? Any place where you can think of where you have accomplished something that you believe is great, and that accomplishment should have spoken for itself, but unfortunately it was dead silence, and you wish that you could have, if you had to just maybe look back a bit, you're like, maybe I should have spoken about what I achieved at that particular point. Any thoughts on that while and everybody's commenting on the chat?
Absolutely, Dima. I think this. I started to see most of similar, sentiments to say your accomplishments won't speak for themselves. You have to, step up and present them and talk to them. And yeah, so I think maybe coming from, when I reflect, coming from a place where, for instance, maybe you report to your manager and you accomplish all of this, and then maybe somewhere in the back of your mind you are thinking they're going to advocate for you in their circles, and wherever they are in their social circles, to say, even in the work context, to say, oh, there's this employee that's really good at 1, 2, 3. And even if they did, you would find that it's not how you would have done it had you been the one to speak to those or rather speak about those accomplishments. So it's always best. I think it's something that I've also come to learn and appreciate. It's always best for you to be the one who represents yourself when it comes to your accomplishments, because I think no one can speak better or louder or clearer about it than you, because you are the person who has accomplished all of this. So I think maybe with that fear, you tend to take a step back and let other people represent you, which might not work because their words or their perception or however they may have received this accomplishment might not be the way you might describe it if you get a chance to, present it yourself.
Yeah, and I think I echo, in my case, I echo the sentiments of Siyabonga Mutwenyani. It said the work did speak for itself, but the face was not mine. Being part of something, a guidance document at the time where I worked for one of the big four audit firms, and we drove our particular firm for that year, drove the psycha guidelines for a particular industry at the time. And I was very, let me say, very instrumental in bringing the document together. But because I was not at the helm of it, I took for granted, if I reflect back, I took for granted that, yes, the work will speak for itself, and there is the name of the firm attached to this publication, and the face wasn't mine, right? And I took for granted that, but this is in the context of what we do. But at the time, but I think when I reflect back, I realized, look, this was a big accomplishment. This is like, this guidance document is not a small thing, and it actually wasn't in the course of the bare minimum of what you do on a day-to-day basis. So the work did speak for itself, but the face was not mine, and I also didn't advocate or make sure that my name is attached to the success or accomplishment of state activity.
Thank you, Itu and Frida, and I think everybody, the participants on the chat, that is very true. I think we have all been a victim of assumption, right? That you've done the work, and I take ownership, hence I said the victim of assumption, because you've done the work, you've done everything, and you believe others would know the story or represent the story, the true essence of the story or the fullness of your story. And that is not the case, right? Yes, others have taken credit for it. And if you want to take credit for your own story, hence the realization that the accomplishment does not speak for themselves, I think this is the statement that really needs to land, whether you are earlier on in your career, whether you are mid-career or later on in your career, this needs to be realized that you can only advocate for the work that you've done better. Nobody can tell a better story for what you have achieved better than yourself. And let it, I think this is, for me, hence I said, this is one statement that has landed. And I from that workshop, I started challenging myself and I said, I will own my story. Yes, others can talk in it. I'm not in all the rooms at all the times where I can advocate for my story. But whenever I get the chance to speak my story, I have to have my story ready and say, this is Dimakatso. This is what Dimakatso has done. This is the value that I've achieved. This is what I have the success that I've brought in. This is the difference that I've brought in, especially when, it comes a time for promotions, for performance review yearly. If you do not document or reflect on why you are remarkable, why you've accomplished 1, 2, 3, 4, trust you me, come performance time, sometimes, with our leaders tend to manage a whole group of people. And definitely, if we cannot assume that they will remember everything that you have shared with them throughout. Hence, it's important to advocate, own your own accomplishment, and advocate for themselves. So thank you very much. I think in the chat as well, thank you for those good great comments there. But I still believe that we've all been the victim of, the credit went somewhere else when it's supposed to go our way. I think, but let it be a lesson going into the future to own our own accomplishment. And with that, I am going to talk about self promotion. I think it just tying into the previous one that, self promotion matters at work. It could be at work, it could be wherever you are involved, because hence I think I've mentioned that one in two employees feels that managers make sure they get credit for their work. That means it's 50%. Other 50% they get credit. But what about the other 50%? What if you fall in the spectrum of the other 50%? Hence, celebrating our achievement will boost our self confidence, will motivate us. Come time for performance reviews with our managers, definitely you will show the unique value you've brought into the work. You will show the professional benefit that the organization, or the benefit that the organization tend to benefit because of your our work. I will definitely, when you look at that, there is a research that why is it important to celebrate small success. Sometimes individuals, it takes the biggest success for us to believe that we're making an impact, and forgetting about those small milestones. There's a lady that summited Mount Everest. She did come to our work one day and did give a talk. I think it was last year or year before last. And one thing that she mentioned was, there were about eight summit at the base where they would gather, and every time that she would summit and get to a certain level, she will celebrate that milestone because it's gonna add towards summiting Mount Everest. And I think for us as well, as individuals, is important to build our muscle of celebrating small success. And you can put it in the chat in terms of why do you think as well is important to also just note down small wins. Those small wins, what does those small wins does for us when we celebrate them, when we share them with others, just as a self-reflection, just for self-reflection in terms of why do we believe celebrating small success is important. You're welcome to put it in the chat, but I will definitely move into to the next slide as well, while you're still posting in the chat. There is another research as well, that I'm Remarkable wanted to sort of tackle its bias and stereotypes that we may not be aware. We've highlighted that sometimes we did do the work, but unfortunately our accomplishments or credit went somewhere else. And could be stereotypes, where the leaders say, we do the work, but I take the credit. It could be the stereotype in terms of the diversity of the people that we are. And I'm not gonna yeah, I think this one definitely, most of us, if we have to reflect, there is a perception about our competence and ability, and that could cast across different uh, stereotypes. It could be she's young. I'm gonna take, I think, the lighter one. Maybe she's young, early 20s. She cannot lead a team of people that have been in the organization for that long. Definitely it's the stereotypes that even if you are capable of being a leader of a certain age group or people that have been in the organization for that long, we know that those biasness might be the ones that tend to water down what we're remarkable on. So this one, I think it's all about right now. If we can reflect, maybe a biasness towards yourself or stereotypes, or biasness towards others in terms of either the identity, race, gender, age, ability, or neurodiversity, where you believe that those barriers said, but this person cannot achieve this, or I cannot achieve this because of maybe my age. I'm in my early 20s. Probably I cannot be a CEO. I'm just now taking or I cannot promote myself, self promote myself to say, why do I want to be a CEO in 5 years? Because you look at what you've achieved, maybe just as a point of reflection, and just being mindful that we are different and our experience are different. Is just think about a time where you know that you also had stereotypes about your own self, that you could not show up in certain environments. I don't know if anybody wants to share about them being biased towards themselves, creating a barrier about how unique, how capable, how remarkable they are. Anybody that wants to share about owning where you had stereotypes about your own self. Anybody that wants to share in the chat? I just want to check Itu, Frida, anytime where you thought that you looked at yourself and said, maybe I'm too young, to be remarkable and make it in this place. Maybe I'm too young, or maybe I'm a certain way, maybe I'm this way, to achieve a certain particular achievement, or to even advocate myself in this room, because I believe this is a group that maybe would not listen.
So for me, it's not really a personal thing, but just generally, and also trends, and like wherever I get a chance to listen to people talking, even in podcasts, and when it comes to breaking barriers to this, identity-based stereotypes, where it's most strongest is the gender one, especially when women are taking up, jobs in male dominated industries, like the traditionally male dominated industries. I think that's where these stereotypes come across the strongest. And as a woman, you will get into that trap of saying that a man can do it better than you, and therefore you don't get the courage to give it your best and succeed in that industry. So those stereotypes tend to, be very detrimental to women and girls who aspire to be in careers that are not traditional, the nurse, the teacher, the psychologist, because sometimes we attach that gender stereotype to say these are women, but we are not used to seeing a lady who's an engineer, a lady who's a pilot. I know that these days we are breaking those barriers. We are starting to get used to seeing a lady who's a pilot, a lady who's an engineer, an architect. But those have, for the longest time, been those stereotypes that I think held back women and other groups from, exploring careers in such industries.
Thank you, Frida, for sharing that as well. I've also shared in the chat, it's a research, it's a group of women as well in terms of the self promotion gap. You can check them as well, where they talk about the self promotion gap. Yes, there are some literature review on the self promotion gap, where they always, I think, the belief is us as women, as you'll see, I think I'm going to move to the next slide, that, us as women, definitely, there is judgment based on whether women can or cannot deliver. And we know that that biasness exists, but we cannot measure ourselves and put a barrier on ourselves. Yes, a system can put a barrier, but when you own your own story, when you own, then at the time where you know your unique value proposition and what you bring in, you are able to break those barriers yourself. I think the most important thing about what that page wants to drive is look at yourself, when you reflect in terms of the stereotypes, the barriers that you have about yourself, break them. It will give you an opportunity to also try to break it when you think about, when you have a perception about others that are different from you, or others that are, they're diverse in a way that, it makes them unique. So break the biasness in you, challenge your norms, and make sure that you advocate your own story and create that safe space for others to also advocate for themselves. I think the other one that I can move into, it's the language bias. I think that it's how language can be used as a form of exclusion. They always talk about, I think here they just took, the example, it's on the easier one about the accent, but we know that sometimes when you articulate yourself in a certain way, the system has a way, or in a professional setting, I'm just going to give that example, that it has a way of, again, creating a language bias. Have you ever walked in a room where everybody talks about abbreviation? I've walked into an organization where everybody knew abbreviations of everything, and you still have to learn. And while you're still learning, you can be labeled as if you do not know your work, but it doesn't change the fact that you got to those roles. You got to those roles by, probably, in terms of your capability and also what you can achieve. But I think that's definitely what the example is in the workplace or work environment, or at environment that we find ourselves in. Could be, outside work. There's definitely sometimes a dialect that, foster inclusion or exclusion. I think the purpose of I'm Remarkable is be aware of what excludes you from, or from you promoting yourself. Don't leave it there and say, uh, this environment, definitely I cannot be able to articulate. Still articulate your story. If other sets of groups are not able to listen to your remarkable story, there's always group that definitely, when you make them aware of who you are, aware of your successes, definitely there will definitely be the ones that will listen to you. So I think the basis is, you can challenge the biasness about certain topics that aims to exclude you. And then this is also based on research. I think I believe I spoke about a topic about, biasness. We spoke about biasness towards women. When I'm Remarkable started, I did mention it was started by two women. They were challenging a norm in a high tech environment where it was predominantly male, and they promoted male, but they didn't leave it further at women alone. They even highlighted that you look at 55% of Black women. That means if me and Itu and Frida are in a room, you know, uh, probably two of us will have our question judged. That means it's a lot where you have half of the people, or where your judgment is being questioned, and there's comparison in terms of 39% and 28% of other streams. But I always say, take the 55%, be aware of there is biasness. That means if I walk into a room full of people that are different to us. Let's say I'm gonna take, let's say it's men, and then just giving example, and the people are different to me. I already can be aware that there will be biasness, right? But what we don't leave it there is, remember, as you're going through the journey of I'm Remarkable, you are documenting, you are self-reflecting, you are noting your personal accomplishment, your professional accomplishment, what makes you unique, so that even when your accomplishments are going to be questioned, you have the facts to back it up. Yes, it's not to justify our position or justify the judgment against, or being judgment being or being questioned. It's all about knowing who you are and advocating for that. Hence I said there are people that will advocate for your story, but the first thing is you have to speak up for yourself. And they say, I think part of the research say 1 in 2 employees have been mocked for their accent in social settings. We spoke about the language biasness that exists, but I believe that this is a topic that when you look at biasness, definitely it is important to be proactively aware that those biasness exist. It might be from others to us, or it might be us to others, but we need to be intentional about how we disrupt them so that we can support our own well-being and create a safe place for others. We are leaders actually in our own right, whether you're leading um, people, you're leading upwards, you're leading, vertically or horizontally. We are leaders in our own right. And when we intentionally disrupt, our own biasness, others will learn from our environment, or we create a safe space around us and say, certain bias we will challenge, we will question, we will definitely dismiss, so that, we can create a safe space where people, those around us, are always able to articulate for their own why they are remarkable. So that is research. I know it becomes, heavy at this particular point in time, but it's just a self-reflection where you believe that you were biased towards your own self or biased towards others around you, where we not create an inclusive behavior. As I've mentioned, one of the topic that I love very much is diversity and inclusion, and I am a champion, and I will continue to champion for this topic. But we know why being inclusive is important, right? And you ask yourself why inclusion, why we're talking about self promotion, is because they are totally linked. When everybody believes that they are remarkable, there are, as I've mentioned, there are people that definitely are different to ours, and we grew up with, or we come with those biasness. We have to make sure that we are inclusive so that everybody feels that they are valued. It could be at work, it could be in a social settings. Sometimes I think we believe that these topics could be relevant to work only, but we know even in our social settings, I think there's different levels. It could be in terms of accomplishments, in terms of education. It could be others that believe that, I had to work first and not go to formal education or higher education. And others did that and work later, depending on the settings. Everybody needs to feel valued. And when you are in a team, could be at work, it could be outside work, when you are in a network of or group of people where there's diversity and inclusion, it always says, it's research again that, it's built on research, 87%, where there's diversity and inclusion, there's always performance that outshines where there is definitely less diversity. And we know that organization benefits a lot from diversity and inclusion in terms of innovation and creativity, and teams that definitely perform because we learn from each other. We definitely bring in different ideas, creativity, decision making, and probably also the reputation, in terms of how we create an environment that is inclusive. I know right now it's all research. It can sound a little bit boring. I think right now we'll go into the exciting part, and I do apologize. I know the research is definitely just heavy topic, but is a topic that definitely, I always say it's heavy because it touch on the core of humanity, of who we are as human beings, and some of the challenges, perception that we are challenged with, and some of the challenges and the perception that we're trying to disrupt. So it's always heavy. And going back into the exciting part, and this is where we bring everybody um, that's involved. But before we move to that topic and go to the exercise, definitely Connie has mentioned being a minority in a tribe in every space I occupy in dealing with stereotypes. I do agree with you, definitely, especially when you are in minority or a majority. Sometimes you are a majority in a place that the minority have always made it pass as, it's always that particular challenging that perception and disrupting. We all have to disrupt that biasness. Thank you very much for sharing your story. So I am gonna go back into, we're going to do an individual exercise. Sounds very exciting. I would like everybody, if you have a, a book and a pencil or a book and a pen ready, please get it out. If you take notes on your laptop or in your phone, please get that ready, because this is where definitely we're gonna just do some little bit of exercise. And I will be calling Itumeleng just to ask. So what we're gonna do is we're going to be doing a place where you start with I'm remarkable, right? I'm remarkable because, just reflect. It could be personal, it could be professional, but to set the scene, I am going to give over to Itumeleng to sort of share her personal story in terms of where she believes she has been remarkable, both professionally and personally. And everybody can do the same. Over to you, Itumeleng.
Awesome. Can you hear me? This internet is not remarkable today. So I can't see myself, but I hope you guys can hear me. So I am remarkable because a few years ago when COVID hit, I was working for a development finance institution. And I've always wanted what I do to draw a direct line between what I do professionally to that having an impact somewhere in my country, in my community, somehow, contributing positively towards that. So when I was at this development finance institution, it's also very important to have colleagues where you're like-minded. So we had big hairy audacious goals, and at the time we then worked on a proposal, and we worked together with a research institution out here in Pretoria who had a lab. Remember, during COVID, there was a backlog of testing, and the NHLS couldn't get through all the testing involved. So we lobbied that as a development finance institution, our role is to have some development impact in the country, and we redirected funding towards capacitating this research institution, their labs, so that we, were an additional lab to help with COVID testing across the country. And I think it was remarkable to see something you are directly involved in, and how it's contributing, because, at the beginning of COVID, it was very, scary time, a lot of unknown, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of stories, some true, some not. And it was great to be really part of an initiative that I could see is, responding positively to the country's needs. So I am remarkable for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive, Itumeleng. Thank you for sharing your story. Definitely inspiring. Frida, any unremarkable story?
You caught me off guard, Dima.
Are you still writing?
I'm writing. You have caught me off guard, so I'm gonna pass the token to our learners whilst I still figure out why I am remarkable. Let me see. Let's see, guys. Anything there? Uh, okay, they're still typing. I assume they're still figuring it out.
I can share another story because I really believe I am remarkable.
Yes,
You are.
inspire us.
um, I am remarkable because, and I'm saying this to re-emphasize, guys, start with I am remarkable because I think it sounds small, but just saying those words, I am remarkable because, puts you in a space to really think about why you are remarkable. So I am remarkable because some years ago, a friend of mine was getting married, and her aunt at the time had said that she would handle the cooking. Unfortunately, she got inebriated, and even though there was, support, there wasn't a coordinator. So, I stepped up. Another friend of mine and I, she handled the deco, and I said, look, I'll handle the kitchen. With imagine all these, if you've been to any of traditional ceremonies, there's these old ladies who they don't necessarily want, not old, but mature ladies, and they don't necessarily want to be told by someone younger. But through the teachings, I guess, from growing up, influencing them and making them feel extremely important and etc. But gently nudging them for us to get the food going, etc. And needless to say, my friend had a beautiful wedding. She was none the wiser about all the chaos that was happening in the background. And at the end of the day, I actually had one of the mamas there say to me, Itumeleng, you guys grew up under us, and who would have thought that you guys would be in a position at your age to coordinate, such a big and significant event for your friend. So, and at the time I didn't think it was that big of a thing, but until she said it to me, I really appreciated, you know, how much I could do more than I thought I could. And I thought I was still too young to be the coordinator, of the kitchen for an event.
Thank you so
Sweet.
much. Thank
Thank
you so much.
Yes, so I'm ready to share why I am remarkable. So I am remarkable because I've just recently been told by my mom that I am the glue that keeps the family together. So I didn't realize this. And she started, relating all of the things that I've been doing over the years. And some of them, honestly, I'd forgotten. I'm like, I don't even remember doing this. And she's like, yeah, I remember the time when you came through here and there. Uh, so, yeah, you need to know that this family is what it is today. In your father's absence, you have stepped up and you've like taken over, you've stepped in his boots, and you are the glue that keeps the family together. And I think reflecting on that, I didn't realize a lot of things that I'd been doing. Most of the things were like last minute, looping me in to say, can you please handle this? I didn't think much of it, but to them, to the family, it was quite big. And my mom recently told me that because of all of those little things, big or small, I actually was the glue that's been keeping the family together. So yeah, I am remarkable because of that.
Beautiful.
Amazing. Thank you, Frida. Thank you. Definitely, we are here because you are that glue that connected us between Business Women's Network and Educate to Employ. So, definitely, you are remarkable, and thank you for setting this up. And I can also share mine, on my long list, because I have like a Bible full, because I normally make sure that I reflect. And when I reflect on myself, I also reflect on what I have done for others. So I am remarkable because, as I've mentioned, that, for me, cheering others on the side to make sure that they achieve, it's one thing that I believe is my purpose in life. And in April, one of my I'm a customer success manager, did reach out to me about what can we do to make sure that we upskill their employees on SEP certification. Gave me 5 people to work with. And for the last 6 months, we've been working. Firstly, with the 5 people were supposed to sit for exam in June, didn't happen. July and August. And me being me, I know I always devise a strategy because I love results and I have to see results. So I approached one and I said, I can see that there is a hesitation. And I know SEP certification can be very intimidating. If you have to write an international exam, SAP can be very intimidating. But I approached her just to find out, maybe just take a chance. Take a chance. Let's prepare you. Maybe it will help others to also register. But register. If you fail, if you don't get through, it's going to be you and I that knows. Nobody else will know. So we prepare for the exam on the 19th of September. She take for the exam. It's a 3-hour online certification, and it's for functional certification. That means we hold it as the same standard that our customers get, our SAP consultant get. And that person said, that lady, and 3 hours later, she sent me a message and say, I made it. I made it. I made it. I made it. And that for me, it's a remarkable story for her, but also for me to say, you know what, I didn't give up when, people felt intimidated by this. You look at the potential of others, you look at how remarkable they are. You also not advocate for the results only, but for them to also achieve their full potential. She achieved it. She's now a certified a functional consultant. It inspired the other four to now sit in and register for their. So between now and October, others are going to sit in to take those exams. So that is a remarkable. Not only is that, but the customer has decided to set up a center of excellence or expertise to support their customer when those ones are also certified. So you can see that it's a chain of things where you show up as your remarkable self, you embrace your unique characteristics that you build in, and because mine is to make sure that people become successful. One success led to the other, it leads to the organizational success. So that I am remarkable because of that. Yes, that's what I can share. I am now going to go into the chat to see. I don't know if maybe Frida, you want to call some of the example. Maybe let me give that to you.
Yes, yes, of course. I see Deborah Ricoto saying, I am remarkable because I grow through anything I go through. Perseverance. I am remarkable because I am resourceful. I always find a way to come up with solutions. I make a remarkable friend. Sweet. And Afolabi Tolulope says, I am remarkable because although it seems that I haven't gotten to where I want in my tech career, I keep on pushing and not giving up because I know the future is bright and I will be there.
Nice.
Yes, yes, and maybe just the last one before we continue. We'll get to more of these. Abdul Hafiz says, I am remarkable. I have achieved a lot so far this year. I sought out to increase my knowledge and diversify. I have so far bagged a master's degree this year and diversified learning with Umuzi slash SAP E2E. So yeah, these are the incredible, remarkable reflections or stories that our learners have. There's more coming, guys. I see you, Walter and Joy and Connie. Keep being remarkable.
Yeah. Just to call out a few more from earlier, Chinedu, I am remarkable because despite the challenges I face in my journey to greatness, I have not given up and don't intend to. I see these obstacles as a stepping stone to success. And Siyabonga, I am remarkable because I've not given up on myself. I'm still putting myself out there and I'm attractive to incredible opportunities. Beautiful.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much for sharing those amazing examples, both personal and professional. I still remember one of the sessions that we hosted. I think it was last year, to you and I. And when people say we are breaking generational barriers, generational curses, I was the first one to, achieve certain things in my family. And, that's basically what we're saying. I'm remarkable. It's all about identifying the good that we are bringing, into both our lives and the others of those around us, and the barriers that we're breaking. I mean, just reading now, where Joy say, I'm remarkable because I have made progress, struggle, but still find a way to continue. You've completed your undergrad. That is remarkable. Hence I say, your story. I'm gonna take Joy, if that's okay with you. Your story might be, you've completed your undergrad. When you come to me, you completed by your undergrad. But for you is the fact that you showed up for yourself. Even no matter how you struggled, you could have struggled in aspects that we could never even imagine. But the fact that you showed up and you made sure that you've completed that, congratulations. And that is your story. You need to own it, and you have to tell it and own it for yourself. I think that's what Remarkable is doing. Anybody that still wants to share, I think Itu, um, Frida, do you still have more to share?
No, not from
Yeah.
me.
Did we, I think, yeah, Walter says, okay, are you talking about the chat, Asdima, or just
It
to
could be a
add on
chat,
what
it
you
could
said?
be your
Yes,
example.
yes, yes. I see Walter saying, I am remarkable because a LinkedIn post I wrote on SAP SDMMPP went viral. 90K plus
Oh,
impressions, 52K plus reach, and 1K plus engagement, 180 reposts. It gained me wide visibility. That's remarkable, Walter. Well done.
amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely remarkable. All the stories are remarkable. And when you own it, you are able to tell others. Now you've shared it with us.
Mm,
Sometimes your story, now you've shared it in this room, it's being recorded. We don't know which rooms this story is going to end up, or our story, or our remarkable stories, in rooms that we may not even reach. But your story might definitely reach that and continue. Please, the story, I know you've shared some of the story. Fill as many pages as possible so that you can own your story. I can also share another story that, for me, it's also close to my heart. I told you the things that I do really, really, I do them out of passion. I'm remarkable because in 2022, I did the women event at work. Remember? Maybe for those that wouldn't know, this is where you give your own personal time. You're giving your own personal time outside work to also do those other things. But I raised my hand to co-lead the Business Women's Network at SAP together with my other colleague. And in 2023, because we had given so much, 2024 we became the chapter of the year in terms of growing. I think that when we took over, there was only 17 women, but I think by the time we we finished our leadership. I think it was 2 years later. After that, it was this year January. We had grown to 60 women that have joined the network. Not only that, but we have touched communities in Kenya. I think the other one, I forgot the name of that country, where we've offered Unremarkable. We've done the other workshop. We've done how to even prepare your CV as an early starter in career, and how to grow your career. We've done webinars. So we've done so many things that our achievement, actually, we were recognized as the chapter of the year that time. So hence I said, own your story, tell your story. Definitely, others that are listening definitely will definitely listen to your story. I am going to skip the group exercise because we've done this session as a group, as we are virtual and sitting in various um, area. I just want to just ask, maybe we've done this exercise about writing about how I'm remarkable. Um, for others, it might have been the first time. For people that have done the course, I think people like Frida, you've done this course with me or this workshop with me 2 years ago. It might be, you've done it before, but for others, it might be the first time. I just want to ask in terms of how was it? Did you find it easier to write about your achievement? Was it harder than maybe you thought you could do it? And how did you feel when you are sharing now your achievements, probably with strangers that could tend to be friends, colleagues, or business partners in the future? How did it feel for you um, to sort of write your own achievement stories? And how does it feel when you know that now the story that you've shared about how remarkable you are, it's now it's on YouTube, and also it's been heard by other stories. How does it feel for you? I just want to hear in terms of um yeah, your thoughts about how you feel, or your feelings in terms of doing this exercise. Maybe I will also ask my studio colleagues right now in terms of, is it easier? Is it harder? Is it always, come with, you second guess, should I write this? Is this the right achievement to write, or the right achievement to share? How do you feel? Do you still have biasness towards your own achievements? Maybe that's the questions that I could ask, and everybody feels free to post in the chat, and in the studio, you're welcome to share your thoughts.
Yeah, it feels very nice and rewarding to celebrate uh, people that have accomplished good things in their career, their personal lives. I think it's also that moment of reckoning, that feeling sinking, and you just like experience it in full. Like I said, with my story of why that I shared of why I think I am remarkable. Um, I've never, said it out myself before, other than the time when my mom was saying all of these things to me, and now I'm just, paraphrasing what my mom was saying, even in my head, and it's like me really affirming to myself, like that affirmation that I'm remarkable because of that. Now owning that feeling and let it sink. It's really nice, and also seeing the incredible stories that the learners are sharing of why they are remarkable, and with us saying, "Well done, this is incredible." Um, it's a very good feeling to always celebrate people for their accomplishments. So yeah, I'm letting it sink. Yeah, I'm just letting it, do what it does. Those good feelings.
Yeah.
And I think for me, initially it was hard. Initially, as in when we did it the first time. And also, I think through coaching, one of the things that I came to a realization is that I say to my coach that it's almost like I mean, I still default to it sometimes. I carry around this imaginary audience with me, right? So before I say something or do something, I mean, sometimes it's even just trying to put together a PowerPoint presentation. I want to first get it completely right in my head before I even open a PowerPoint and put it on PowerPoint. Not that it's going anywhere, whatever. And I realized, why do I do that? It's because I carry this imaginary audience with me that judges me, and I'm saying this to say, maybe to tie it back to whether it's easier or harder, and I think the first time around it was harder because, again, playing this imaginary audience of which story do I share, why, what will they think, or whatever the case may be, but I think, understanding and trying to break through some of those barriers has been really freeing, and to Frida's point, I think listening to everybody else, it's always, it's like a warm cup of comfort to hear everybody's stories. It brings about a really, really good energy around.
Thanks, Frida and Itu there. Definitely, the first time is harder. I see in the chat as well. The first time is harder because, you know, I always say the default for most human beings, for most people, it will always to put yourself down instead of building yourself. It's always like that. We are our own worst critic. So it becomes easier to really critique yourself than building yourself up. And it will become difficult if you've not done it. For me, I can write easily in a day, just write five about it, no matter how small. The fact that I would wake up and show up, if I wake up at 5 o'clock, and I will take that as an accomplishment, because how many times do we find that you want to wake up, but we procrastinate, or you do those things. Those smaller things that you do showing up, you owe it to yourself. I always say, no one knows the work better than you can remember. So the important thing is for you to start building that muscle. Probably, yes, the first time is hard. Write it down. Maybe play to a sister, a friend, somebody that you believe you have a safe space. Play around with your friends and family. I mean, to mention the energy. I think one thing that I can say I've noticed is the minute one person starts sharing their story, everybody start remembering their story. In the chat was buzzing with a lot of story. That's basically, for me, that is the environment that we want to create, where one person starts sharing the positivity around, start sharing how remarkable, identify the remarkability in others. You would see how the energy shift from where it becomes heavy, it becomes talking down, it becomes, we've come with biasness, to where we start now talking about, how remarkable we are, and identifying it in each other. That's basically what I have noticed. I've noticed the likes, I've noticed, the hearts, I've noticed, you can see the energy in the room. It's filled with, I am remarkable because. I am remarkable because. So basically, that's what I wanted us to reflect on, in terms of where we are right now. And we are getting closer and closer towards the last few minutes of this session. But this is just some of the suggestion, in terms of what you can do to build this as a muscle. Remember, this session, it was just a start for us to start, and for you to take it to the next level in terms of tracking your achievements. You can do it on a weekly basis, but have like a place where you can track and log your achievement. Um, so that you are ready when it's needed. I mean, maybe let's say you apply for a job, and then you meet somebody and say, but why you? You don't have to really go through fast in terms of, I'm still going to look in terms of why me. But you have it ready. You have it ready because you have been tracking and encouraging and building that muscle. This is part of some of the activities that have been shared, in terms of have a group of, it could be on a social setting with friends or colleagues, or in your teams where you're working. If you are working in an environment, you can suggest it to, the leader, or if you're a leader in the group, and say, you know what, let's start looking at places where, we celebrate each other's achievement. It could be to appreciate each other. At work, we do have this platform where we can appreciate and recognize the remarkable contribution others bring into our day-to-day work. It could be that, but we can say it, and we can say it out loud. Build that culture that recognize our unique values and our unique contribution to, or value proposition to what we bring in. And yeah, the third one would be practice and act. It could be continuously reviewing your unremarkable statement. I'm remarkable because I told you when I started, I could barely get to 5 without talking down on myself and say, is this worth sharing? But now I celebrate every small achievement, because not every day where you get your big wins. Some days you get your small wins. Some months you can go with small wins that when you look at and you add them up, they build up towards a big win. And be authentic about it. Write every single thing. Waking up in the morning, in itself, it's remarkable, because there's a process that goes up to waking up in the morning. And you could always 10 otherwise. And also set a stretch goal for yourself. Maybe you can start sharing it in a social setting, in a group, but maybe approach your manager and say, you know what, today on our one-on-one, I just wanted to share with you about what I've accomplished. It could be in the last week, in the last month. I just wanted to share with you. Yes, sometimes we don't have like a safe space to share, but maybe challenge yourself and look at a role model within your organization or in your company or in your network of friends or the network of business partners, and say, you know what, when I show up into that meeting, this is what I want to show up as, and this is an achievement that I want to share. Where you share, I mean, the LinkedIn post that you've shared. You can even, take it and say, how can I make sure that I share it with you? It's just an example with SAP, to say, this is what I wrote. Look at what it has brought in. Those type of stretch goals about making sure that your achievement is echoed in rooms where, or in spaces where that probably you want to go into, or you are aiming to grow your career into, or your business into that space. That's basically, yeah, the unremarkable exercise. There could be many, many more. I'm not sure if there's anything similar in Educate to Employ, in Umuzi, or with the students, but this is something that definitely we can make it as a movement, other than just become one exercise or once off. We can make sure that it impacts others. This is definitely one of my last slides, that become an advocate, encourage others around you to advocate for their own achievement. And a culture of, others, asking others. Maybe you can even ask others, what was your achievement this week, and don't share it with me. Encourage others to promote themselves in your environment or in your teams. And sometimes when others are doing that, also, as I've mentioned, that examining your own bias will definitely be another biggest achievement, because it will help you to say, when others are promoting themselves, this is definitely the biasness that I have, and this is what I can interrupt, and be intentional and towards making sure that this biasness in my midst, definitely, it has to be a challenge, and being intentional to moving away towards certain biasness. I believe that's what we can help others to recognize their achievement and promote themselves. It brings me to the very last of my presentation, and where I just want to firstly thank you all for the session, right, for joining, for showing up. For me, the fact that you showed up and you stayed throughout the session is remarkable. And I just want to appreciate you honestly sharing your and being vulnerable, because when you share about your personal stuff, you are being vulnerable because you're sharing it, I think, in a public forum as well. I really appreciate. And I also want to thank Frida and Itumeleng, also just Itumeleng for co-hosting with me, and definitely Frida for being part of the session. I just want to say, let's build a muscle, let's build a community of remarkable people, and making sure that we pass it forward, we share it with others, and others get to understand and become remarkable. We are building countries, nations, and we are trying to make sure that we are the change that we want to see out there. But let's become the remarkable change we want to see out there. I am going to end with those words, and would like for you to really scan the QR code and participate in the survey. The survey will definitely help me to continue. It's an anonymous survey. I'm not going to know who said what when. I am going to share my facilitator ID and the remarkable survey link in the chat when you get the chance. This is help me to sort of continue to practice this and share it with others wherever I go. That definitely the Remarkable movement continue to shine in and impact other people going forward. Thank you, the Umuzi team, for sharing my the QR code and my facilitator ID. It's there, and my full name is Dimakatso. Please, when you get the chance, take a moment. It took about 5 minutes. Just asking. It's anonymous. It will help me to continue to facilitate and spread the message of being unremarkable with others like ourselves. I am going to stop there, and I'm going to hand over to maybe Itumeleng, your closing remarks, then Frida.
Just from my side, also, it's been a pleasure. I think this is the second time I'm co-hosting with Dima, and it's really a great experience to be part of. And I can only echo what you said. Thank you, everybody, for being open to hearing us, and for being open to sharing your personal thoughts and feelings with us. And yeah, thank you, Frida and team. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you, Dima and Itumeleng, for, setting aside time, valuable time in your day to grace us with this session. It has been incredible and remarkable. And I think a lot of learners agree, even the music community that has joined us in this session. Definitely echo the very same sentiments. And I think it has been eye-opening. I saw one of the comments there saying that they've been, been hard on themselves, and this session has really helped lighten up that load to say even the small things can be celebrated. You don't only need to focus on the bad. There's always the good that you experience in your day, in your life, that you can celebrate and talk about and feel remarkable about. So I would like to thank you definitely for coming and giving us this session. We've learned a lot. We've learned to appreciate ourselves and promote ourselves. But also a big thanks to our learner community, everyone that has joined today. I think you have made what the session, you've been part of what the session has been intended for, and you've made it what it is today. Also, a big thank you to Letty, where I'm not sure if she's here, and Michael for putting it all up together, the technical ninjas that make this session possible. Thank you very much to everyone who has contributed today, and we hope to have other remarkable sessions in future. So with that, I think we've come to the end of our session today, and we all walk away on this nice Friday feeling remarkable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Everybody, bye.